I guess I put it off as long as I can. The things I do for you people. All right. Ta-da! Now, this batch of stuff here is actually old records, some of Annetta's old records. I don't know why she hasn't picked them up. But this group here is all that remains of my Laserdisc collection, minus, of course, the handful of collector's editions, which I've showed you before, but we will take a closer look at in this overview. So let's just move this over so I can sit there, and we'll take a look at what we got. We'll just set these aside for now because, well, you've kind of seen them before, so it's these ones you guys have been wondering about for the longest time. Yeah, what all is left in my Laserdisc collection? Well, it definitely is nowhere near as glorious as it once was. Now, you've seen my DVD shelves. Well, you know the bottom shelves of those? About 10 years ago or so, that entire bottom row on both shelving units was full of Laserdiscs. So I probably had somewhere in the vicinity of 200 or 300 at one time. Nowadays, however, most of those have since been sold as I moved into the world of DVD. A lot of equivalent editions or superior editions came out on DVD in terms of content and whatnot, and I figured, well, if I'm going to sell my Laserdiscs, I better sell them while they're still worth something. So I sold a whole bunch on eBay back in the day, and man, that was that was not that profitable of a venture either, might I add, because I would really package them well. I mean, I would get oversized bubble envelopes and boxes, like corrugated cardboard boxes, so I would have the Laserdisc in the middle with corrugated cardboard sheets on either side, and then put into a bubble envelope. So there was just no way those things were going to get damaged, and I don't think any of them ever did, if I remember correctly. Maybe once. I think once a customer got a damaged disc. See, the problem, of course, with Laserdiscs is they're so huge and heavy, they tend to be very fragile when you mail them. It's not like DVDs where you can just put a DVD in a keep case into a bubble envelope and send it off on its merry way, and it gets to the destination totally intact. No, it wasn't like that at all. With Laserdisc, you really had to package them well. And between the cost of packaging and postage, plus what money I was able to get for the titles themselves, I actually ended up pretty much breaking even. I really did not make a lot of money on them at all. And now if I tried to sell them nowadays, it'd probably be something like me paying them to take them away. So yeah, the last batch I sold was actually at a local auction house where I just sold a whole box full of Laserdiscs, and yeah, it was probably about this much sold, maybe more. I think the thing was I had a lot of redundant things in my collection that I'd already replaced with DVD, so why keep the Laserdiscs around? There just didn't seem to be much point. So here, what we have remaining is a collection of old favorites, stuff that hasn't been released on DVD, or stuff that has been released but that I keep around just as a memento because I'm an obsessive fan of that particular thing. Or in other cases, there are things that have been released on DVD but without as much content, or with different content or something like that. So being a content freak, you know, I like to have as much of the extra goodies as I possibly can. So if that means having to keep some old formats around, then so be it. Well, I think that's about it for an intro. So let's roll the titles, shall we? Yes, we're going to take a look at the remnants of my Laserdisc collection. Part one of a few, probably, because I imagine I'll have a few things to say about some of these. Alrighty, so let's get started today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Okay, I have no idea what order these are in, so I guess we'll just start at the front and kind of work our way back. Alright, so one of the first ones we have here is the collector's edition of A Nightmare on Elm Street from Elite Entertainment. I think this is one of the first things that Elite Entertainment did. One of the earlier ones anyway. And it's a beautiful gatefold with lots of cool information on either side. Yeah, as you can see, it starts off, you actually have a letter from Robert Englund here about the making of the film. And then you actually have a lot of behind-the-scenes photos and whatnot. Very cool. And then here you actually have the chapter list for all the contents on the disc. Now what's cool about this is Laserdiscs, of course, don't use menus or anything like that. So the whole concept of Easter eggs was pretty much non-existent. If you wanted to access all the extras, all you had to do was skip to the particular chapter. Now apparently a lot of these extras have since been duplicated on subsequent editions of A Nightmare on Elm Street on DVD, and I believe the new Blu-ray actually has most, if not all, of this content on it. The thing about the DVD edition was you could only access a lot of the featurettes by going through these interactive features. There was like some kind of maze game or something like that you'd have to do. So you couldn't actually directly access a lot of the extras on here. So that really put me off. So that was one of the reasons I kept this edition around. Plus it's just such a cool edition. I mean, this is really classy. Now before we get too far into it, if you want to see what a Laserdisc looks like, generally comes in these huge record sleeves. They are the size of records. Oh, you can see Godzilla over there. Yeah, there you go. Now you can also see I got a bigger TV. Probably saw when I pushed the box in here. So there you go. Pretty cool. I should also mention there were basically two formats of Laserdisc. There was CAV and CLV. I went into this way back in the day when I did my little spiel about Laserdisc called Laserdisc, the format nobody respects. The long and the short of it is CAV and CLV stand for constant angular velocity and constant linear velocity, respectively. The main difference is CLV was essentially a playback-only format. You could get chapter encoding and multiple audio tracks, but that was basically it. For the most part, you didn't get any so-called special effects. Special effects being things like still frame and slow motion and reverse. Well, you could, fast forward and rewind and stuff like that. But with CAV, it was like crystal clean and perfect, and it would just like boom, stop dead on a frame wherever you stopped it. But with CLV, it kind of jumped around a bit. It was mainly just meant for sitting and watching. So often what would happen is you would get bare bones releases with maybe a trailer or something on CLV discs. That was just for people who just wanted the movie with no whistles and bells. But then you would get a special edition version on a CAV set, which often had additional special features. Now, some of the special editions actually were a combination. Like, for example, this one, the first disc is a CLV disc containing the movie, and then the second disc is all extras, and it's actually a CAV disc. Now, the advantage to that is with CAV, you could do still frame and stuff like that. So you would often have things like production photos and page-by-page essays about the making of the film and things like that. So, no exception here. This was actually kind of the norm for how special editions were done in the latter days of Laserdisc. You'd have the movie in CLV and then the extras in CAV. The main reason being a lot of later players could actually give you the same kinds of features with CLV discs that previously were only available on CAV. So you could do the still frames and the slow motion and stuff like that. So that meant they were able to offer deluxe editions of movies at a much lower price than they were able to previously. Previously, if you wanted like the super duper deluxe editions, they would put them on CAV discs, which meant that sometimes a movie would take up several discs. I should mention, CAV gives you only 30 minutes of video per side. CLV gives you an hour. So regardless of whether you're using CAV or CLV, you're going to be using at least two sides of the disc. All Laserdiscs were flippers, every single one of them. Some of the more advanced players actually had reversible heads, where it would be a mechanism that would play the bottom side of the disc, and then literally the mechanism would flip over and play the other side of the disc without you having to manually flip the disc. And apparently some of them were quite good at it. So anyway, I actually used to have all 7 Nightmare on Elm Street movies on Laserdisc. Only the first 3 got the deluxe treatment from Elite Entertainment. But one that I did keep, it was kind of deluxe, was this one, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Because this is actually one of the few sort of special editions as well. And it has a nice gatefold cover with lots of artwork. And I should mention also, where is it here? There they are. In the second sleeve, they actually give you 2 pairs of Freddy's Dead 3D glasses. Yes! The final sequence in Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, is 3D. And the nice thing about Laserdisc, of course, is it's analog video, so that means that the 3D segment doesn't suffer from all the digital artifacting and whatnot that it did on the DVD. Not that it was that severe, but it definitely looks better on the Laserdisc in this case. Then, carrying on, we have, yes. This is pretty cool because this actually has a little segment on it with director Leonard Nimoy. This is, of course, Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, the Director's Series. Paramount didn't really do too many of these. They did a handful of the so-called Director's Series, and you get like a autograph. Not a genuine autograph, it's just a reproduction on there. But this is pretty cool because it actually has a little sequence, an intro to the movie with Leonard Nimoy, and part of that intro he actually talks about the difference between widescreen and pan and scan, and how as a director he prefers people to watch his movies in widescreen. If you poke around YouTube a bit, you can probably find that clip. Just look up Leonard Nimoy widescreen and you should find that clip, and you can check it out. So this particular one is a oh, hold a second, gotta knock at the door. Sorry, just received a package in the mail from Stoudman. So I guess we'll be doing a package opening video right after these Laserdisc overview vids. Okay, now in this case, it is a 2-disc set, so you might be thinking, oh, it must be CAV. No, it's actually not. These are 2 CLV discs. These particular sleeves were unaffectionately referred to as elephant condoms. I always preferred the more oversized paper sleeves myself. I find they're a little more, I don't know, less likely to scratch the discs and whatnot. Plus they don't sort of stick out of the side, which the elephant condoms tended to do. But yeah, it was actually just 2 CLV discs, 3 sides. One side was just blank. And then the reason for that was because they had the additional comments and whatnot by Leonard Nimoy at the beginning, so it took up a little bit of extra running time. Plus the movie itself is actually over 2 hours, so regardless of that, it still would have taken at least a couple of discs. Yeah, unlike with DVD, where you can just kind of tweak the bitrate a bit to squeeze more on a disc, you can't do that with Laserdisc. You got 60 minutes per side, and that's it. There is no give on that whatsoever. There's no grace time at all. You have 60 minutes on CLV discs, 30 minutes on CAV discs, and that's all she wrote. Okay, so carrying on, the greatest movie ever to come out of the 80s, Howard the Duck. Yeah, as you guys probably know, I'm a huge Howard the Duck fan, primarily because of the original comic books, which I really need to do a video about at some point. The original comics were just fantastic, and I have hung on to and cherished this Laserdisc for a very long time for a couple of reasons. I mean, first off, obviously it's better quality than the VHS edition. Second off, it was a very long time before we got a DVD of Howard the Duck, and we finally did get a DVD not too long ago, and loaded with extras too. I mean, they really did a nice job of it, I have to say. My only regret was this was not widescreen, and widescreen was pretty common on Laserdisc, but unfortunately this particular edition was full screen. But it kind of suckers you in a little bit because the opening titles are presented in widescreen. The rest of it is pan and scan full screen, so yeah, so it's like at first you're thinking like, oh cool, it's widescreen, and then it just goes full screen. It's like, oh, damn it. And here's one that I'm sure will make a few of you jealous. The Criterion collection of Ghostbusters, and this is not the movie-only edition, this is the deluxe 2-disc gatefold CAV edition, loaded with extras. Let me see what we got on here for extras. They did this kind of weird. You know how most DVDs, for example, one Laserdiscs did this too. They give you the movie and then they give you the extras after the movie. Well, in this case, they actually split it across the 4 sides of the disc. So they'd have a few chapters of the movie followed by some supplements, and then the next side would be a few more chapters of the movie followed by some supplements. So they kind of broke it up across the course of it. But what's pretty cool is there's actually some extras on here that I have not seen on any other edition. So, for example, you have special effects comparison, the library ghost, deleted footage, the stairway, storyboards for all the scenes on side 1, and the screenplay for all the scenes on side 1. So again, that's an advantage of CAV, is you can actually have page-by-page screenplays, just each page takes up 1 frame, right? So that's pretty cool. And on the second disc, you have a special effects comparison for the ballroom, storyboards and screenplay for all the scenes on side 2. And then you got on side 3, deleted footage with Janine and Egon, which I don't recall. I don't think my DVD has that scene on it, if I remember correctly. I know one of the DVD editions didn't have that scene, and I was very, surprised. Like, wow, why didn't they include that bonus scene? And again, you got storyboard and screenplay for side 3, so there's not like a ton of supplements on the main movie section. So side 4 has the last bit of the movie, and then the majority of the supplements. You have the original theatrical teaser, the original theatrical trailer, Making of Ghostbusters excerpts, which is kind of annoying. You know that archival Making of Ghostbusters featurette that's been on most of the DVDs? Yeah, well, for some reason they only have excerpts from that on here, which is kind of annoying. Stuff about the special effects, stuff about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, improvisation, which I guess is some lines and stuff that they improvised on the set, which is pretty cool. Insider notes, storyboards for sides 1 through 4, and the complete screenplay. Well, what the hell? Okay. I haven't looked at this for a while, so it's like, well, if they were just going to put the storyboards and complete screenplay at the end of side 4, why did they put them on sides 1 through 3 as well? It just seems kind of redundant to me. Anyway, yeah, so there's not like a super ton of supplements, but at the time when this came out, this was the single most deluxe edition of Ghostbusters that had ever been released. I mean, none of that extra material had ever been released prior to this, so this was definitely a good one to get. I think this was an eBay find that I got one time, and yeah, as you can see, it's in pretty decent shape too. You know, it's a pretty nice condition. I've definitely cherished this over the years, and it continues to be a prized part of the Laserdisc collection. Okay, and then we're getting into some cartoon sets, so maybe we'll save the cartoon sets for next time. Alright, so this is just sort of, wow, we've talked about 5. Yeah, this is going to be a few parts, I think. Alright. Well, that's it for part 1 of the Laserdisc collection overview, but I figure since I have so few of them, I might as well talk about them at great, nauseating length. Yeah. Alrighty, so we'll see you guys in part 2. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara. So I can see what I'm doing. Just set these ones aside here. Alright. Now we need to angle this up a bit. And now if I tried to sell them nowadays, it would probably end up being, so being a content freak, I like to keep. They are the size of records, but much bigger. And you could scan, like skip. Often what would happen is you would get bare bones releases on CAV, or page-by-page essays based on. Yeah, so this is a prime example of a special edition being done on CAV. Now, it is, of course, a roughly 2-hour-long movie. Oh, actually these are CLV. The rest of it is pan and scan white. Yeah. The rest of it, they actually split it across the 4 sides of the and then the majority of the supplements. You have the theatrical trick, and then the original theatrical teaser.